There exists a particular cruelty in how the universe treats souls who refuse to settle for anything less than truth. You have felt it, haven't you? That peculiar ache when everyone around you seems to find love easily, while you remain suspended in a space between longing and discernment. This is not punishment, this is preparation. What you are about to discover will illuminate why certain souls endure what feels like cosmic delay, why love seems to elude those who need it most profoundly, and how this apparent withholding serves a purpose far greater than comfort. The universe does not deny rare souls love, it refines them until they become worthy vessels for the kind of connection that transcends ordinary human experience. Jung understood that some individuals carry within them an innate rejection of the superficial, a cellular-level resistance to relationships that merely fill space rather than expand consciousness. These souls cannot pretend satisfaction where none exists, cannot manufacture chemistry through willpower, cannot convince themselves that partial understanding equals true companionship. They are condemned to authenticity, blessed with standards that often feel more like shackles. Before such souls can receive their counterpart, they must undergo what appears to be a series of cosmic tests. These are not arbitrary trials designed by a vindictive universe, but necessary passages that strip away everything false, everything borrowed, everything that prevents the soul from recognizing its true reflection when it finally appears. Each test serves to reveal what still needs healing, what patterns still require breaking, what illusions still cloud the inner vision. The first initiation comes disguised as unbearable solitude, not the chosen solitude of retreat or reflection, but the imposed isolation that arrives when every available option feels hollow, when every potential partner speaks a language your soul cannot translate. You find yourself surrounded by people yet fundamentally alone, watching others form connections that appear genuine while you remain unable to access that same frequency. This solitude is not evidence of your inadequacy, it is evidence of your specificity. Jung would call this the necessary separation from the collective unconscious, the painful but essential process of discovering what belongs to you versus what you have inherited from family, culture, or circumstance. Rare souls must learn to distinguish between their authentic desires and their conditioned expectations, between genuine attraction and the magnetic pull of familiar dysfunction. The universe enforces this solitude until you stop trying to fit your expansive nature into relationships designed for smaller dreams. During this period, you may notice how others seem to navigate love with such apparent ease, how they meet, merge, and move forward without the existential weight that accompanies your every romantic consideration. You begin to wonder if something is fundamentally wrong with your wiring, if your inability to feel satisfied by available options represents a character flaw rather than a character strength. The universe remains silent during these moments of self-doubt, neither confirming nor denying your fears, simply holding space for you to discover the difference between being difficult and being discerning. This phase teaches you that loneliness and solitude are not synonymous. Loneliness is the ache for connection. Solitude is the space where connection with yourself deepens. Rare souls must learn to inhabit their solitude without desperation, to use this time not as a waiting room, but as a laboratory for self-discovery. The universe watches to see if you will maintain your standards or collapse them out of fear that holding them means remaining alone forever. As you navigate this territory, you begin to understand that your solitude serves a specific function. It acts as a filter, ensuring that when connection does arrive, it comes from a place of genuine recognition rather than desperate relief. Those who rush to fill the emptiness often find themselves in relationships that recreate the very isolation they sought to escape, surrounded by someone who cannot see them, cannot meet them, cannot match the depth of their authentic expression. The second test arrives more subtly, often disguised as exactly what you have been seeking. Into your carefully cultivated solitude steps someone who appears to understand your language, who seems to recognize your depth, who activates every center of longing you have been protecting. This person carries an almost supernatural ability to see through your defenses, to speak directly to your most guarded hopes, to make you feel simultaneously exposed and safe. Jung would identify this figure as the activation of your anima or animus, the unconscious projection of your idealized masculine or feminine that takes form in another person. This individual does not love you, they love what you represent to their own unconscious need. Similarly, what you experience as love for them is often love for the parts of yourself that they reflect back to you. The connection feels fated, inevitable, cosmically designed, yet it carries within it the seeds of its own dissolution. This test reveals whether you have learned to distinguish between authentic intimacy and psychological projection, between being seen and being idealized, between love and the temporary healing of old wounds through someone else's attention. The person who appears during this phase often carries an almost mystical quality, seeming to understand you in ways that feel miraculous after so much disconnection. They may share your interests, mirror your values, or possess qualities that complement your nature so perfectly that the relationship feels like destiny rather than choice. The seduction of this connection lies not in its intensity, but in its apparent appropriateness. Unlike obviously problematic attractions, this person seems genuinely suitable, genuinely caring, genuinely interested in who you are beneath your protective layers. The danger is not that they will harm you deliberately, but that they will love you incompletely, seeing only the aspects of your nature that serve their own psychological needs, while remaining blind to the totality of who you are. The universe presents this test to see if you have developed the capacity to recognize love that comes with conditions, appreciation that depends on your ability to remain within certain parameters, acceptance that requires you to minimize inconvenient aspects of your truth. This person may love your sensitivity, but recoil from your intensity, appreciate your depth, but grow uncomfortable with your complexity, value your uniqueness, but expect you to modify it when it becomes inconvenient. If you accept this partial love, if you convince yourself that being understood in fragments is sufficient, if you adjust your expression to maintain the connection, the universe does not punish you. It simply allows you to experience the slow erosion of self that accompanies any relationship where your wholeness threatens the other person's comfort. You learn through direct experience why settling feels like a kind of spiritual suicide, why compromising essential aspects of your nature creates a relationship that feels more like elaborate loneliness than genuine partnership. The third initiation often proves the most challenging because it requires you to recognize and dismantle the ways you sabotage your own happiness. When someone genuinely appropriate begins to approach your life, when the universe prepares to deliver what you have been seeking, your psychological defense systems often activate with surprising intensity. Suddenly you find reasons why this person might not be suitable, evidence that the timing is wrong, fears that allowing yourself to hope will only result in deeper disappointment. Jung understood that the psyche often resists exactly what it most needs, particularly when that need threatens to disrupt familiar patterns of self-protection. If you have grown accustomed to your solitude, if you have built your identity around being misunderstood, if you have organized your life around the assumption that true partnership is not available to you, then the approach of genuine possibility can feel more threatening than its absence. Your own shadow begins to whisper warnings, generating doubt where certainty should be growing, manufacturing problems where none exist. This internal sabotage takes many forms. You might find yourself comparing this new person to an impossible standard, measuring their reality against the fantasy you constructed during your solitude. You might interpret their genuine interest as temporary infatuation, their consistency as eventual disappointment, their acceptance as evidence that they do not truly know you yet. You might begin to behave in ways designed to test their devotion, unconsciously pushing them away to see if they will fight to stay, creating conflict to determine if they can handle your complexity. The universe does not intervene during this phase of self-sabotage. It allows you to discover whether you have genuinely prepared for partnership or simply grown comfortable with the nobility of your suffering. This test reveals whether you can recognize genuine goodness when it appears, whether you can receive love without immediately questioning its authenticity, whether you can risk disappointment for the possibility of genuine connection. Many rare souls fail this particular test, not because they lack courage, but because they have become so skilled at protecting themselves that they cannot distinguish between wisdom and fear, between healthy caution and destructive self-protection. They push away exactly what they have been seeking, often realizing their mistake only after the opportunity has passed, only after the person who was willing to see them has moved towards someone capable of being seen. The fourth test involves a complete recalibration of your vibrational frequency. The universe requires that you release not just obviously toxic patterns, but also seemingly positive attachments that no longer serve your evolution. This might mean ending friendships that keep you trapped in old versions of yourself, leaving environments that support your limitations rather than your growth, or abandoning identities that feel comfortable but constrain your authentic expression. Jung called this process individualization, the sometimes painful journey of becoming who you actually are rather than who you have been conditioned to be. For rare souls, this phase often requires releasing the victim narrative that has provided meaning to their suffering, the specialness they have derived from being misunderstood, the identity built around being different from others who seem to love more easily. You must abandon the story that your struggles make you superior, that your sensitivity grants you special privileges, that your depth excuses your resistance to vulnerability. This recalibration demands brutal honesty about the ways you have contributed to your own isolation, the ways you have used your legitimate wounds to justify remaining closed, the ways you have hidden behind your authenticity to avoid the risk of true intimacy. The universe asks not that you become someone else, but that you become completely yourself, releasing even those aspects of your personality that feel justified but ultimately separate you from love. During this phase, you may find yourself naturally gravitating away from people, situations, and habits that once felt essential to your identity. Conversations that once energized you begin to feel draining. Environments that once felt like home begin to feel constraining. Activities that once brought pleasure begin to feel empty. This is not depression, it is alignment. Your inner compass is recalibrating to point toward what genuinely serves your evolution, rather than what merely comforts your familiar patterns. The universe observes whether you can trust this process of natural selection, whether you can allow relationships and circumstances to fall away without clinging, whether you can maintain your integrity even when it means standing alone. This test determines whether you have developed the capacity to choose authenticity over approval, truth over comfort, alignment over security. It reveals whether you are willing to become someone capable of partnership or whether you prefer the known territory of noble solitude. As you navigate this recalibration, you begin to emit a different kind of energy. People respond to you differently. Opportunities present themselves that previously seemed unavailable. Your entire reality begins to shift to match your new vibrational frequency. The universe has not changed its offerings. You have changed your capacity to recognize and receive what has always been available. The final test before the arrival of true partnership involves surrendering the very thing you have been seeking. This paradox confounds many rare souls. The universe requires that you stop trying to find love before it will deliver love, that you release your attachment to partnership before partnership becomes possible, that you find completion within yourself before you can experience true union with another. This surrender is not the defeat of giving up, but the victory of becoming whole. Jung understood that individuation leads to a state where you no longer need another person to complete you, but rather desire someone with whom you can share your completeness. This shift from need to desire, from seeking to offering, from grasping to allowing, represents the final preparation for soul-level partnership. When you reach this state, you stop scanning every room for potential partners. Stop analyzing every interaction for romantic possibility. Stop measuring your worth by your relationship status. You begin living as though you are already complete, already loved, already exactly where you need to be. This is not denial or spiritual bypassing, but the natural result of having integrated all the lessons the previous tests were designed to teach. The universe watches for this final surrender because it indicates your readiness to love without attachment, to connect without losing yourself, to give without depleting your resources. Only when you no longer need love can you truly receive it. Only when you stop seeking can you recognize what has been seeking you. Only when you become who you are can you attract someone who can love who you are. This state of being creates a magnetic field that draws toward you not just anyone seeking partnership, but specifically someone operating at a similar frequency of wholeness. someone who has undergone their own series of tests and transformations, someone capable of meeting you at the level of depth you require. The universe does not send you someone to heal your wounds, but someone to celebrate your healing. Not someone to complete your missing pieces, but someone to appreciate your wholeness. When such a person appears, the recognition is immediate and undeniable. There is no need to convince yourself of compatibility, no need to ignore red flags, no need to adjust your expectations. The connection feels natural rather than effortful, peaceful rather than chaotic, expanding rather than limiting. You recognize each other not as strangers becoming familiar, but as familiar souls meeting in physical form. This recognition comes not with the intensity of projection, but with the calm certainty of truth. There is no desperate grasping, no fear of loss, no need to possess or control. Both of you understand that what you have found together exists independent of circumstances, that your connection transcends the temporary arrangements of human relationship, that you can love each other completely while remaining completely yourselves. The arrival of true partnership for rare souls often lacks the dramatic intensity that characterizes projection-based connections. Instead of fireworks, there is recognition. Instead of obsession, there is peace. Instead of the need to prove compatibility, there is the simple knowledge that you speak the same language at the deepest level. You find yourself able to be completely yourself, without fear that your authenticity will frighten them away, without need to monitor their reactions or adjust your expression. Jung would describe this as the meeting of two individuated souls, two people who have completed enough of their own psychological work to engage in relationship without losing themselves, without requiring the other to fulfill unmet childhood needs, without projecting unconscious material onto each other. This kind of partnership supports the continued evolution of both individuals, rather than arresting their development in favor of security or comfort. The universe that once seemed to deny you love now reveals its wisdom. Every test was necessary preparation. Every delay was perfect timing. Every disappointment was protection from settling for less than your soul could recognize as home. You understand finally that you were not being punished, but refined, not being denied, but prepared, not being overlooked but carefully cultivated for exactly this moment of recognition. What rare souls discover in authentic partnership is that love does not diminish their uniqueness, but amplifies it, does not require them to become smaller, but invites them to expand, does not ask them to compromise their truth, but celebrates their courage in living it. They find someone who not only accepts their depth but matches it, not only tolerates their intensity but generates it, not only understands their complexity but appreciates its beauty. The relationship that emerges from this foundation operates according to different principles than connections based on need, habit, or social expectation. Both people remain whole individuals, choosing each moment to share their wholeness with each other. There is space for solitude within the partnership, room for individual growth alongside shared evolution, capacity for disagreement without threat to the fundamental bond. This partnership becomes a sanctuary where both souls can continue becoming more themselves rather than a prison where they must pretend to be someone more acceptable. The love that flows between them serves their highest evolution rather than their lowest fears, supports their authentic expression rather than their defensive strategies, nourishes their individual purposes rather than subsuming them into a merged identity that serves neither. If you recognize yourself in this journey, if you have endured the tests of solitude, projection, self-sabotage, recalibration, and surrender, then you understand why the universe required such preparation. You are being prepared not for ordinary love, but for extraordinary partnership, not for conventional relationship, but for conscious union, not for someone to complete you, but for someone to celebrate your completion. The path has been longer than you wished, more challenging than you expected, more transformative than you could have imagined. But every step has served to ensure that when love arrives, you will recognize it, receive it, and give it from a place of strength rather than need, wholeness rather than emptiness, choice rather than desperation. The universe has not forgotten you. It has been preparing you for exactly what your soul has been seeking. Take a moment now to reflect on your own journey. on the tests you have navigated, on the growth you have experienced, even when it felt like stagnation. Consider how each challenge has contributed to your capacity for authentic relationship, how each disappointment has refined your ability to recognize genuine connection, how each moment of solitude has deepened your relationship with yourself. Your willingness to endure this process, to trust the timing even when it made no sense, to maintain your standards even when it seemed easier to lower them, demonstrates the rare courage required for soul-level partnership. You have been preparing not just to find love, but to be worthy of the love that can truly see you, meet you, and match you at every level of your being. If this resonates with your experience, if you see your own journey reflected in these words, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What tests have you navigated? What have you learned about yourself in the process? How has this journey prepared you for the love you seek? Your insights might illuminate the path for another soul undergoing similar preparation. And if you found value in this exploration, please subscribe for more content about the deeper dimensions of love, relationship, and the extraordinary journey of becoming fully yourself.